So this is actually not even applicable to you, Lauren.
No,
let me finish.
No,
right,
hold on.
I have to finish because
wait,
you.
Wait. Disagreeing for me came with starting with the infertility and the market value, the appreciating.
As we age, doesn't matter how much money we accumulate, our degrees or professional accolades. The reality is that our marriage and partnership market value is depreciating with every passing year.
So with the infertility, I know I said this yesterday, some stuff is science, right? You can't get around that. But I feel like when you start with that and you lead with that, it then makes people get defensive and they don't even hear it.
So because of that, though, right, I'm not going to sit in a posture of ownership because you made a choice to be limited in the way in which you received and processed the information.
So this young lady admits that she made a choice to be offended by what Eboni K Williams said. Why is this? Well, I always say women don't listen, they interpret. What this means is we all have something I call a belief filter. Whatever it is that we see or whoever it is that we interact with in our lives, we view that person, that event, that place, or the thing as either a survival threat or a survival need. I'll give you an example.
Deeper Discussion card game is meant to give you and other players deep understanding of how we all deal with relationship, when or if things get serious. One of the biggest reasons why people break up is because of underlying family issues. This game can be played with either 2 people or an entire group, so have fun.
Question number 1. What is the one thing you wanted but didn't receive when you were young? Name a time when money was the main factor why a relationship went bad.
Deeper Discussions Dating Edition. Again, these cards are good for vetting a potential boyfriend, a potential girlfriend, a potential husband, a potential wife. It'll even tell you what's wrong with your sneaky link. If you and your sneaky link need to have a conversation, these are the cards. Actually, these cards are so soft and silky, by the way. Like
they ain't gonna get
really
wore out.
Durable.
A dating card game for introverts who have a hard time asking the much needed compatibility questions. Deeper Discussions, the card game.
Whatever it is that we see or whoever it is that we interact with in our lives, we view that person, that event, that place, or the thing as either a survival threat or a survival need. I'll give you an example. If you grew up around pit bulls and you had a pit bull as a pet and you were always a dog lover, and now that you're grown, you're walking through your subdivision and you see a pit bull walking down the street, you may still be careful. You know, you're not going to walk up and pet it, but you're not going to have a visceral fear-based response to a pit bull walking down the street because you're a dog lover. But if when you were a kid, you got bit by a pit bull or attacked by a pit bull and you're walking through your subdivision and you see a pit bull walking down the street, you'll instantly have a fear-based trauma response to simply seeing a stray pit bull walking down the street. One person with a non-traumatic upbringing sees that pit bull as not necessarily a threat just because it's a dog walking down the street. But the other person with the traumatic upbringing instantly sees that pit bull as a survival threat. You don't think a lot of you women see men as a survival threat in a lot of times due to what you went through in your childhood or what your mother warned you about in your childhood? All of these are interpretations due to what we believe as true. But what we believe as true, 1, may not be true at all, or 2, other things may also be true. I'll say that again. Other things, along with what you believe, can also be true. So when a woman has a visceral reaction or response to what somebody said on social media, it's not an indictment on the person that said it. It's an indictment on the person that received it as bad. What this means is we all have something I call a belief filter, where whatever it is that we hear, it goes through our filter of beliefs. And if the information isn't in congruency with our own beliefs and what we think either should happen or is happening in our own lives, we're going to get mad, upset, and we'll instantly interpret the information as bad or wrong. But what if our beliefs are wrong? Because where do our beliefs come from? From our parents, from our environment, from our childhood, from confirmations of what we were taught. And something in the world like the opposite sex or black people or white people confirms what our mother or father taught us when we were growing up. And all of a sudden, that belief, since it was confirmed, becomes our reality. And everybody's reality is their truth. Whether it's true or not, it's their truth, even if it's wrong. But what if your belief system that you now have isn't the truth? But what if your present belief system isn't necessarily a belief, but it's a fear? It's a trauma response. As an example, what if your mother had terrible relationships with men throughout her whole life? And because of her terrible experiences, she literally taught you a belief system that is literally built off of her traumatic experiences. She turns around and tells you, don't let no man control you. Go to college, do this and do that. And any man you meet, make sure you're in control. Always be in charge of your own life. Go to college and get your own money. But she doesn't offer context on don't let a man control you. So now the first person you actually start getting attracted to are either dumb men, because you can control a dumb man if you're smart, a broke man, because a man that has no money, you can control, a man that's weak or somewhat effeminate, you can control that type of man. And throughout your 20s and 30s, the only type of men that you ever dated were either dumb, weak, emotionally unstable, financially unstable. And in virtually all of your relationships, you always were in control. But the problem is you don't want to be in control. You want a man that will take control. But your belief system, your belief filter has always told you, don't let a man control you, with no context. So now you're like, if I run into a confident, strong, competent, highly intelligent man that is smarter than me, keyword, smarter than me, he's going to control me. So when Eboni K Williams said this,
as black men age, their desirability increases. And the exact opposite is true for black women. As we age, doesn't matter how much money we accumulate, our degrees or professional accolades. The reality is that our marriage and partnership market value is depreciating with every passing year. If you are a young black woman in college and you know in your heart that you want to prioritize family, I suggest that you simultaneously pursue that MRS degree right along with that BA or JD.
You're automatically offended due to the fact that you were taught something totally different. So instead of looking at the information that somebody's giving you as wrong, why can't that information be right and your information be right?
So the disagreeing for me came with the starting with the infertility and the market value. But I feel like when you start with that and you lead with that, it then makes people get defensive and they don't even hear.
So because of that, though, right, I'm not going to sit in a posture of ownership because you made a choice to be limited in the way in which you received and processed the information.
Two people can be right at the same time. It's just two different perspectives. So when you look at what anybody says, whether it's me or anybody else, think to yourself, that this person may be right. And there's a possibility that the way I was raised was dysfunctional. And because I was raised like that, and I'm not aware that the way I was raised may be dysfunctional or fear-based, I'm hearing this new information and I'm automatically saying it's wrong. The person is a misogynist or narcissistic or they're against women, including Eboni K Williams. Because a lot of women literally said Eboni K Williams is against black women. Like Eboni said, you, just like this young lady here, are making decisions not to listen to information that will possibly change the way you think and steer you into the right direction. I talk about single motherhood all the time. Nothing I say about single motherhood is wrong. But if you're a single mother and the things that I've said about single motherhood goes against your belief system because your mother was a single mother and you grew up thinking, if my mother was a single mother and I turned out okay, well, there's nothing wrong with being a single mother. But did you turn out okay? But did you turn out okay? But did you turn out okay? The majority of black people, male and female, did not grow up healthy emotionally and mentally, because a lot of us that grew up under a single mother was either neglected, abused, emmed, I don't want to say the words. And because of all those things that we endured, we now have dysfunctional attachment styles and we become attached to dysfunctional people and run away from functional people. This in particular is called damaged neuroception. Damaged neuroception. Damaged neuroception. A lot of you see good men as bad and bad men as good. You dream about a good man, but when you get a good man or get approached by a good man, for whatever reason, you're turned off. Because like I said earlier, a good man is a leader. A good man is smarter than you. A good man is more competent than you. A good man makes more money than you. A good man is less traumatized than you. He has a better upbringing than you did. So you could turn around and get with that good man and start feeling inadequate. And all of a sudden, your abandonment issues start coming out and start feeling like you're not enough for that good man, because you're looking at this good man with all these great attributes, looking at yourself like, why would he want to be with me? You start feeling like you're not enough. But what if your mother did the same thing? Just like your mother, you self-sabotage good relationships and end up in bad relationships, because in a bad relationship, because of your damaged neuroception, you feel more comfortable. You feel comfortable in chaos. You may feel comfortable in chaos because you grew up in chaos. And next thing you know, your baby daddy is a loser and a bum that doesn't pay child support, and you're mad at him, but you chose him. But in all honesty, your belief system chose him. So a lot of the men that y'all choose to want to be with comes from your belief system. And when you hear certain information from a man or from a woman, you instantly get turned off, because it isn't in congruency with what your mother taught you. But most likely, if you grew up under a single mother, what you have been taught is what's actually wrong, and not what you hear from Eboni K Williams or me. But since you have allegiance to your parents, what they taught you to fear and run away from has to be right, because it worked for them. But did it work for them? Where's your dad? Why did your mother sleep with your dad and have a baby with him without being married? And why did your dad leave? It's a possibility your mother was a pookie picker and she picked a bum to have a baby with, and now your dad isn't in your life. And because your mother gave you this fear-based way of thinking when it comes to men, you turn around and became a pookie picker. And now your baby daddy is a bum, just like your dad was a bum. But this is how cycles continue. You didn't have a dad, and your child doesn't have a dad. You don't see nothing wrong with that. So the next time you see a video that goes totally against your own belief system, I want you to take a second to think, is this person wrong, or is my belief system that I was raised under wrong? Was I taught principles, or was I taught trauma responses? Am I interpreting what somebody is saying as something else because I'm so traumatized, or am I actually listening to the person's information and being objective? The majority of you ladies think subjectively instead of objectively. You're interpreting what somebody's saying instead of hearing what they're saying. You're looking at your belief system as right, and you're looking at something that's incongruent with your belief system as wrong. And it may actually be the opposite. Or your belief system is right and their belief system is right. Because two things can be right at the same time. That means it's two different perspectives. So why does one person have to be right and one person have to be wrong? Start taking in information and put it all together instead of pushing away information that you don't agree with. Because who are you to disagree with information? Even if you went to college and you got a doctorate, you still don't know everything. A perspective can literally change your life if you allow it to. So like I said, women don't listen, they interpret. But once you start listening to understand instead of interpreting so you can respond, your whole life would change. And most likely, you'll pick better men and end up married the way you actually are supposed to end up. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do you think women listen to respond instead of listening to understand? Do you think women interpret instead of listening, period? Let me know what y'all think in the comments.